Hello, and welcome back. It's day 1136 of Russia's brutal and illegal invasion of Ukraine, and we have several major developments to unpack today, from renewed U.S. assessments of Ukraine's military resilience to fresh attacks on Ukrainian civilians, and yes, even Russia, declaring war on Elton John. Stick with us, because as strange as that last part sounds, it ties directly into the Kremlin's broader war on truth, rights, and dignity. Let's dive in. General Christopher Cavoli, the top U.S. commander in Europe and NATO's supreme allied commander, made headlines in Washington this week with an important update. Ukraine has started to overcome some of its frontline troop shortages. That's not just good news, it's essential. With Russian forces pushing harder on the northeastern front, and Ukraine simultaneously holding ground in contested zones like Russia's Kursk region, manpower has been a pressing issue. Kyiv has expanded its recruitment pool and streamlined mobilization efforts. While the details remain classified, it's clear we're seeing the beginning of a structural adjustment in how Ukraine sustains its defense. And frankly, it's happening just in time. But, and this is critical, General Cavoli made clear that Ukraine still depends heavily on U.S. intelligence and long-range air defense systems. Without those, targeting deep Russian command posts and logistics would become vastly more difficult. We've said it before, pulling U.S. support now would be like asking a firefighter to put out a blaze without water or a hose. On the logistical side, Europe is increasingly stepping up. EU nations now supply over half of Ukraine's ammunition needs, about 2 million rounds, according to President Zelensky. The Czech-led initiative to source artillery shells globally has received new funding from Canada, Norway, Denmark, and the Netherlands. Deliveries are now secured through September. What does this tell us? That the West is learning. Delays still exist, but the response is getting more coordinated and less reactive. Ukraine's partners understand this isn't just about holding lines, it's about holding values. Meanwhile, Russia continues to show its fear, not through diplomacy, but through drones. Kharkiv, our northeastern fortress city, suffered another brutal drone strike Thursday night. Fires broke out across residential areas, at least 3 people were killed, and dozens more injured. Russia is testing our northern defenses, particularly near Sumy and across the border in Kursk. Ukrainian forces are holding territory there. Yes, inside Russia's Kursk region. Some reports even mention our troops entrenched in a local monastery. Of course, Moscow won't admit its vulnerability, but their war bloggers and defense ministry are in overdrive, trying to spin the chaos. President Zelensky visited Sumy this week, a clear sign that Kyiv is closely monitoring this axis. As he put it, "We know what the enemy is counting on. In any case, we will protect our state." No ambiguity, no retreat. Now, this figure deserves a headline of its own. Russia has lost approximately 4,000 tanks in this war. Let that sink in. That's roughly the size of the entire U.S. tank fleet. These aren't just numbers. They represent the immense cost of Putin's delusion. The Kremlin thought it could steamroll Ukraine in 3 days. Instead, it's grinding down its own mechanized core in year 3. Ukraine's defense strategy, built on mobility, Western-supplied precision, and sheer resilience, is working. But again, it works because we have continued Western support. Over in Brussels, NATO foreign ministers gathered with a message of unity, but also urgency. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio reaffirmed Washington's commitment to the alliance, but emphasized that Europe must do more. Donald Trump, meanwhile, is calling for NATO members to spend 5% of GDP on defense. That's more than even the U.S. spends now. Poland is already approaching that mark at 4.7% and aims to hit 5% next year. Let's be clear, Poland understands what's at stake. They've seen this movie before in 1939. As Ukraine's Foreign Minister Andriy Sybiga warned, while media focuses on trade wars, there's a real war in Europe. And he's right. The defense of Ukraine is the defense of Europe. Now, about Elton John. In an absurd but telling move, Russia has now declared his AIDS foundation undesirable. Yes, while losing tanks, facing sabotage, and failing to break Ukrainian lines, the Kremlin is also cracking down on HIV prevention. Why? Because anything that promotes openness, humanity, or global solidarity threatens their worldview. This isn't just censorship, it's regression. The same Russia that once applauded Elton John concerts now fears even his philanthropy. Moscow isn't just fighting Ukraine, it's fighting civil society itself. In a disappointing development, the U.S. has withdrawn from the ICPA, an international group collecting evidence of Russian war crimes. Eurojust says work continues with other members, but Washington's retreat from this forum sends the wrong signal. At the same time, Russia continues punishing its own citizens for anti-war sabotage. Multiple individuals have received 12 to 14-year sentences for setting fire to railway equipment in protest of the war. These aren't criminals. They're the few Russians brave enough to resist from within. And the Kremlin is terrified of them. So, where do we stand? Ukraine is adapting. Our lines are holding. Our allies are mobilizing. And Russia is flailing, strategically, morally, and militarily. But the war isn't over. We still need weapons, intelligence, ammunition, and above all, unity. To our friends in the US and Europe, your support isn't charity. It's an investment in global security and freedom. And to our people in Ukraine, your courage continues to inspire the world. Thanks for watching. If you found this breakdown helpful, share it, subscribe, and stay with us. The fight for Ukraine is the fight for the future.